I Stepped from Plank to Plank by Emily Dickinson, presented by Renise Bayne, English 1302, instructor Mr. Villers. I stepped from plank to plank, a slow and cautious way. The stars about my head I felt, about my feet the sea. I knew not but the next would be my final inch. This gave me that precarious gait some call experience. Emily Dickinson was born on December 10, 1830 in Amherst, Massachusetts. She lived with her father Edward, who was a lawyer, her brother Austin, and her sister Lavinia. Dickinson studied at Mount Holyoke Female Seminary for less than a year and then returned home where she lived as a recluse. In her sequestered life, she turned away visitors and focused on writing poems, nearly 1,800 poems. Her sources of inspiration were Robert and Elizabeth Barrett Browning and John Keats. She shared written poems in her letters to friends, but was never publicly recognized during her lifetime. It was after she died in 1886, at the age of 56, her sister Lavinia found 40 hand-bound volumes of Dickinson's work wrapped in blue ribbon. The first volume of her work was published posthumously in 1890 and the last in 1955. Dickinson capitalized certain words to highlight and intensify its meaning in her poetry. The capitalization is used to set apart the words so she can present them in a symbolic way. Some critics say that Dickinson wrote her poetry to celebrate the exact perfection of a word. Two characteristics of her writing that set her apart from other writers are the use of capitalization and the use of dashes or end dashes used in the current standard of her poems. The author was a recluse and confined herself to her room for most of her life. However, she is intuitive about her observation about life. In this poem, I stepped from plank to plank. Each step represents intention, and each plank represents the experience derived from the intention. The author describes a slow and cautious way as decisions that must be carefully weighed and deserves reflection and deliberation. While pursuing one's dreams, aspirations, and the promise of tomorrow, as indicated by the stars about my head I felt, the vast stars reflect unlimited and a wealth of options. But she cautions that sometimes decisions are risky, as she indicates in the line, "About my feet the sea." This line is a warning about the perilous consequence at one misstep or poor decision. I knew not but the next. The author acknowledges no one knows what to expect in life. Life is a mystery. Its future is unpredictable. Even with intentional steps, the outcome may be unknown. And mortality is inevitable when she wrote, "would be my final inch." There is a long dash or end dash following inch that causes a pause before the last two lines of the poem. The text preceding this end dash builds on themes such as caution and careful deliberation, never knowing if today or this moment is the last breath. The text following the end dash, "This gave me that precarious gait," gives me a sense of boldness when each step may have the potential to present a challenge. The precarious gait is the willingness to charge forward despite not knowing what is ahead. Some call experience. It is the respect and trust that is earned. Maturing and learning adds to the wisdom one would lean on when challenges present itself in life. This experience leads to trusting yourself and taking that step in faith. Dickinson's poem has multiple themes: life, deliberate or deliberate, intention, thoughtful, careful, strength, courage, and faith. The symbols she used are planks that represent life and decisions, stars representing dreams, and the sea representing the perils of indecision or risk. The motif for this poem is life experiences gives us wisdom and helps us to grow. Other details of this poem are that it's a free verse, that it's a two stanza with 4 lines in each, There's no rhyming scheme, although there's a beat or rhythm to it. The syllable count is 6686 for each stanza. Each stanza is one sentence with a period in the fourth line. The first letter in both stanzas are capitalized. In the first stanza, all nouns are capitalized. In the second stanza, only gait and experience are capitalized. The enjambment breaks helps frame the complete thoughts. And in the second stanza, has an end dash resembling a pause in the speech, which tells me there's a transition from careful and cautious steps to steps in faith based on trust and knowledge.